Hi, everybody. Um, yeah, I just wanted to do another video, expanding a little bit on the one that I did previously about a choice. You know, when people say that, oh, just a choice, you could choose not to, or, not to transition, you could choose not to be transgender, you could choose not to be gay, like they always used to say. um, it's not a choice. Okay. In that video, I've already said that there is that there is evidence that there is a biological factor to this. However, thinking about the transition, going through this and all the challenges that we face. I mean, once I start laying out the challenges, you're going to say, "Wow, if you chose to go through all of that stuff, oh my God, yeah, yeah." I mean, the first thing is, how do you do? How do you transition? And a lot of people think, okay, well, you're going to transition, you're transgender, which means hormone surgery. That's the big thing. Surgery. You're getting things chopped off or something. No. Okay, there's different types of transition. It's usually social transition first. Social means that you just change the way that you dress. Maybe you want to have a preferred name, even though you haven't legally changed your name. You use a preferred name. You let your hair grow, a little bit of a different hairstyle. That's socially transitioning. Okay, it's not permanent. It's taking the steps when you socially transition. Once you go through that and you decide that you want to continue, then there are recommendations, medical recommendations. I probably have already mentioned the WPATH, standard of care, WPATH, which is the World Professional Association for Transgender Health. It's the standard of care that actually medical professionals need to follow and caregivers are recommended to follow, which basically says that in order to start going through transition, the patient really needs to seek out a therapist, whether it's a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, but somebody who is a mental health professional who actually specializes in gender therapy. And it is recommended that that individual be counseled for at least a year before deciding on the medical transition. Now, first step medical transition is hormone therapy, HRT, hormone replacement therapy. Again, for male to female or trans women, it is androgen blockers, testosterone blockers, as well as estrogen. For female to male, which are trans men, then it is taking testosterone. Now, and again, in order to do that, you have to get approval from the therapist that you've been seeing for at least a year. If you're a minor, then not only from the therapist, but also from a doctor. You have to be under the care of a physician, especially an endocrinologist that knows transgender health and endocrinology, and parental approval, okay? Your kids are not going to go to school one day, your child's not going to go to school one day as a boy and then step off the bus in that afternoon as a girl. It doesn't happen. Stop it. If you think that that does happen, I don't want to call you any names. Okay? So that doesn't happen. There is a recommended process to go by. Now, do people skirt that process? Yes, they do. But if you want to do it healthy, like myself, okay, I want to live my authentic self for a very long time. So I'm not going to skirt any medical process, because especially with hormone therapy, that plays around with your endocrine system. That plays at, diabetes, cholesterol, I mean, everything. Embolisms, I mean, all of that stuff that can really cause serious health problems. So if I'm going to be my authentic self, I want to be my authentic self for a long time. So I'm going to do it the right way. So there is a standard of care that needs approval at multiple steps. That is a challenge for a lot of people. So it's not just a choice. It's not a sexual deviation. Oh, you're just a man in a dress. Men just want to wear dresses so that they could go into women's rooms, women's restrooms. Really? How many men, without wearing dresses, get caught going into women's restrooms? So let me see. Okay, if I'm sitting here and if I'm thinking, wow, I really want to go into a women's restroom to do unsavory things. Let me see. Let me go to a therapist for at least a year and then get therapist approval to take hormones, start taking estrogen, which, by the way, after about 6 to 8 months on estrogen, you no longer produce sperm. So you become impotent and it decreases the libido. Okay, so let me go through all of that for at least a year, year and a half, 2 years. Now I could go into the women's restroom and I could do things, unspeakable things to your daughter. No! As I said before, it's an identity. Remember LGB and then the T? LGB is who you go to bed with. The T, transgender, is who you go to bed as. It's an identity. If I identify because of the biological structure of my brain as a woman, why am I going to go into a women's restroom to do unspeakable things to women? I don't get it. Okay? Which, again, that's another challenge. That does not make this a choice when you start taking hormone therapy. Again, estrogen, you become impotent. Same thing with testosterone. That's why, for me, my endocrinologist actually had me sign a waiver. She asked me, do you wish to have children in the future? Because then we could take some sperm and freeze the sperm. Your endocrinologist, your doctors should be asking, especially even if you are a female to male, you'll no longer be producing eggs. Do you want to take some eggs and freeze them? Okay, because remember, after a handful of months, you're not going to be able to. Okay, so that's another challenge. It's another thing to think about as we go through this. The next thing is the clothing and how do I present? Yes, I'm a big girl, okay? What kind of clothing do I want to wear? Well, just like any other cisgender woman, you find your style. I'm sorry to say that, in my opinion, there are people on multiple platforms that, again, we shoot ourselves in the foot. Because, I'm sorry, as a grown adult, why are you dressing like a 5-year-old with pink plastic berets in your hair and, ponytails with ribbons and stuff? Okay, is that really your authentic self? I am now a 61-year-old. I'm 61 years old. I am going to dress my age because that's what a woman does. Look at all of the women. I'm not going to sit here and be 61 years old and wear, 12-inch stiletto heels with micro mini skirts and act like a 20-year-old. No, because this is what a woman does. Learn how to do your makeup. Oh my God. For all you women out there that are watching, you cisgender women, you went through this when you were a preteen, playing with makeup and everything like that and going through puberty and, again, finding your style and things like that. Well, you know what? I had to do that at 53 years old to start being like, okay, do I put foundation then concealer, then foundation? But what about the powder? What about eyeshadow? Do you do upper? Do you low? Do you do low? My God, there's so much stuff. It is unbelievable, some of these things to think about. And the clothing is the same thing. Because a lot of transgender women that transition, especially later on in age, like myself, yes, we have broad shoulders. So you know what? I'm not going to wear spaghetti straps because that will highlight my broad shoulders. Instead, if I wear a tank top or if I wear a sleeveless, it's going to have a wide strap. Okay, same thing with cap sleeves. The sleeves that come up like that. I'm not going to show and accentuate my shoulders. So you wear flutter sleeves. Also, because you're tall and you're big, you want the eye line to go down and slim out. So you're wearing V-necks or deep scoop necks, something that brings the eye down, something that accentuates the waist, because we don't have waists like women do, as well as the hips. I am sorry, but I don't have hips like a cisgender woman does. We don't have it. Anatomically, we don't, because the structure of the pelvis is totally different. So we don't have the hips. So I'm not going to wear pencil skirts, because I would kind of look like a lollipop, skinny with the body. That's it. I'm not. So instead, I'm going to wear something that has an A-line skirt that accentuates a waist and then flares out a little bit, so that this way it shows that kind of a shape. Things to think about. These are challenges. And I mean, even the challenge of doing that, I remember the first time, my gosh, the first time that I wore a dress out in public, I was scared. I was so scared that people are going to say, look at that effing guy in a dress. And you know what? Truthfully, I still feel that way a little bit. Every once in a while, that still hits me. There are days when I'll get dressed and I'll be like, okay, looking good, go out. Then there are days that I look at myself and I say, yeah, I'm just a friggin' guy in a dress. That's the thing that stays in us, unfortunately. And yes, I'm still under the care of a therapist since when I started in 2017. So, 7, almost 8 years. Which I feel that every human being needs to, because every once in a while you need to talk to a professional just to get the crap out of you. But yeah, these are challenges. The first time that I wore heels, they look great. Put on a nice pair of heels. You see women walking around with these 3-4 inch heels. I'm sorry, I can't. My max is 3-inch. I can't go anything higher than that. Number one, it hurts my feet. Number two, the balance is off. Again, because of the physics of our bodies. That's the study of kinesiology, is the way that our bodies move. Because the pelvis structure is not wider, so the thighs, instead of going like this for cisgender women, they're like this for men. So it's kind of harder to move. And there's the ways to learn how to do it. Stand up straight. Hold in your core. Okay, step with your feet close together. Small. There is just so much. Oh my God, so many challenges. And then on top of that is the name. The voice. Again, estrogen does not cause my voice to go up. Testosterone during puberty, it lengthens the vocal cords. Taking estrogen does not tighten the vocal cords. However, for a female to male, for a trans man, again, testosterone lengthens the vocal cords. It loosens up the vocal cords. So yes, a trans man's voice will drop, but a trans woman's voice will not go up. So even now on the phone, I get, yes, sir. That's a surgery. That's now more part of medical transition. There's a whole thing of surgeries. One thing is facial feminization surgery. You can even watch a lot of, some videos on that. I know the Spiegel Center in Boston has it. There's a doctor out in Beverly Hills that has some videos on Instagram and things. Men are born with a brow bone. Women don't have that, so they shave it down to flatten the forehead. Women have a smaller jawline than men. I mean, there's so many differences. If you look at somebody from just like this, subconsciously you could tell if they are male or female just from this area alone. So if I want that, then that's another surgery. Pop surgery, breast augmentation. A lot of insurance companies do not cover it because it's not medically necessary. Okay, however, some insurance companies will cover a double mastectomy for a female to male because this way you have to have the breasts taken off. But there are women that do have small breasts, so for me to get them put on doesn't happen. Okay, so there are a lot of challenges that I have to face, that trans women have to face, aside from the fact that I still have to shave every day. Estrogen does not take care of facial hair. So we're talking about laser or electrolysis. We have to do electrolysis because if this grows out, the majority of it is gray hair, which laser works on dark hair, not gray or white or light hair. Okay, so it's electrolysis, which we're talking $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 to do that. These are challenges that I have to face, that trans women have to face every single day of our lives. So this is not a choice, because would you choose to go through all of this? So keep in mind some of the challenges, and this is all on top of everything that's going on out in society today with this current administration taking away transgender rights, saying that we are not human beings, saying that we have mental illnesses, that we are mentally unstable, we are sexual deviants. You know, the Department of State website and the TSA used to have a page that said safety guidelines for LGBT travelers. Now it says safety guidelines for LGB travelers. The Stonewall Monument, the nationally recognized Stonewall Monument in New York City, with the Stonewall riots commemorating them from 1969. It was really started by Marsha P. Johnson, a transgender woman. They took out every mention of transgender. They stopped this administration stopped any medical studies on transgender health. So think about all of that on top of our daily challenges, just waking up every single morning and all of the other challenges that we have to go through. So please, just show respect, be a kind human being, ask, hey, how you doing? If you know somebody, ask, how you doing? Want to go for a cup of coffee? Talk. Just be a person, be a human being. That's all that we ask. I just want to live my life. I want to wake up in the morning, go food shopping, go to the dry cleaners, get gas for my car, go to work, just like every single one of you. But now I have to add all of this stuff onto it. So, yeah, I chose this. This is a great choice, right? Okay, so that's it for now. Please like and subscribe. I appreciate that. And comment. Any comments are always welcome. If there are any other topics you'd like to talk about or anything else that you would like to know, then I'd be able to hopefully help you out and give you some answers, because that's why I'm here, to help educate, help people to understand what is actually going on. What does it mean to be transgender, and to understand some of the things that we go through. So thank you very much. Thanks for listening. And again, like and subscribe on the channel. Thanks. Bye.